previous speakers have given the idea about how we are going to evaluate the patient, then comes the time for us to have a strategy on managing the patient. We know that the aim of management is to control the disease progression rate such that it becomes significantly less likely to cause significant vision disability in the patient's lifetime. While trying to do that, it is very important to maintain the patient's quality of life, and your approach has to be in general practical. So practical considerations are very important. What are the factors you will take into account when you are designing your strategy? Definitely the level of damage which you are going to get from the visual field and optic disc evaluation, the age and the expected life expectancy of that patient, initial IOP at which the damage occurred, factors pertaining to the eye itself, systemic factors and personal factors you have to keep in mind. The strategy you can come out with could be observation, medical treatment, laser treatment, or surgical options. So you are going to arrive at something. The key to the right strategy is customization. So first you have to customize depending on the most important features, that is the state of the disease, mild, moderate, severe damage, and perimetry is the gold standard for us, as Dr. Subhadra pointed out, to get the level of damage. Age of the patient and expectancy we have to consider, and personal factors we have to consider before we plan a strategy. So just observation is a very important part of the management. Even the patient whom we are treating with medicines or surgery or laser, we are still going to observe them because each eye responds differently. It's not that the progression rates are fixed. Some are, even two eyes of the same patient may not respond in the same manner. And if you are trying to control the progression, determining the rate of progression is the key to finally preventing vision disability. And all these newer modalities, newer visual field software make it more reliable than we had in the past. So we are depending on calculating progression rates and modifying our treatment accordingly. The concept of target pressure is extremely central to our strategy. What is target pressure? It is a range of pressure at which this progression rate of glaucoma damage is likely to be reduced to be maintain the function vision of the patient during his lifetime. And we are going to depend on data from randomized trials and large population-based studies of open-angle glaucoma and arrive at an initial target IOP, which is an estimate extrapolated from all this pooled knowledge. Then we are going to continuously evaluate the visual field and optic nerve, get individual progression rate of that patient, and then modify our initial estimate. This is well known, and I am sure Dr. Rita will cover it when she talks of medical treatment, is what are the factors we are going to consider while arriving at the strategy of target pressure, the extent of glaucoma damage, the age and the untreated pressure. And this is a famous slide from the European Glaucoma Society, which gives us an idea that patients who have more damage need lower pressures, patients who are going to live longer need lower pressures, and patients whose initial pressure is starting pressure of damage is low need lower pressures. So that will be covered. And many studies show us what is the amount of pressure reduction required to control the disease, and various studies have targeted as the OHDS, which dealt with just suspect patients of ocular hypertension, 20% reduction was effective. In the early manifest glaucoma study, our pressure reduction of 25% was good. In the CNGT, 30% reduction achieved a very robust control of the progression rates. Before we go further, there are very specific risk factors which also have been identified by multi-center trials, which include the corneal thickness, where thinner corneas are known to be a higher risk for progressing more rapidly. Patients who seem to show appearance of disc hemorrhages during their course are also more likely to progress more rapidly, and patients who have pseudo exfoliation, as you can notice, are known to progress more rapidly. Besides that, other risk factors, which also some studies have shown, is the lower systolic or perfusion pressure. So these are the risk factors which are highlighted. If they are present, you are going to give an additional weightage of 1 or 2 millimeters of mercury more. So if the cornea is thin or there are disc hemorrhages or patient is having low systolic blood pressure or pseudo exfoliation, you are going to aim for lower pressure. These studies which have been done on advanced glaucoma has shown that a very robust reduction in intraocular pressure achieves a very low, almost nil progression rates in these patients, as has been shown by the AGIS and the CIGIT study. They both reduce the pressures very aggressively, and they were able to show in a long period of 7 years that the progression can almost be reduced to very low. So you have to keep this in mind for patients who are really running a high risk of going blind. Overall, in mild glaucomas, you're going to target a pressure less than 18 with an acceptable range of 16 to 21 with a 25% reduction from the baseline. In moderate glaucoma, you are going to go for a target pressure less than 16, ranging between 14 and 18 with a reduction of 30% from baseline. In severe glaucoma, you would definitely like lower pressure of 12 millimeters or below, range acceptable between 10 to 14 with a 35% reduction from baseline. But in suspects, anything below 22 is acceptable, even a ranging from 18 to 24 is acceptable, and just 20% reduction is good. In normal tension glaucoma, you don't have absolute figures, but from the baseline, if the glaucoma is moderate, you will reduce 30%, and in severe cases, you will go for more robust reduction. Other factors very important to consider are family history, where patients have a history of members of their family having lost vision due to glaucoma or have progressed in a very short time. You would like to keep this in mind and be more aggressive in these patients. Even the patient's outlook, we have in the clinical practice experience that patients have a variable outlook to their disease. Some are in denial where they believe that just some drops are given and actually nothing is wrong. And you have other patients who would lose their sleep over the fear of going blind. So you have to tailor your strategy on this is very important. Otherwise, you are likely to lose the patient. Personal factors like challenges to putting drops and financial challenges also play a role in the run. And you have to keep in mind these factors. Eye factors, including existence of ocular surface disease, a patient who has got aphakia or a complicated pseudophakia, or a patient who has macular edema due to diabetes or age-related macular degeneration, you have to keep in mind when you decide on medical treatment. So then, which are the strategy which we are going to go for to achieve this target? You can go for medical management, you can go for SLT laser, or you can opt for surgical. In the most common scenario in the early stages, most doctors and patients are opting for medical management. Why is that so? Because medical management gives you an opportunity to get more information about the individual progression rates and compliance and persistent issues of that particular patient. You also understand and make the patient understand what the fluctuations in the IOP are, and patients need to understand that IOP is not a fixed thing and it fluctuates, and the fluctuations are damaging. Also, you get a chance to know which drugs are responding well and which drugs are not being tolerated well, because even if you opt for a laser or a surgery and stop all the drugs, it is a very high chance that as time goes by, you will need drugs in this patient at a future date. The drugs only work if they are put. So adherence and persistence are the biggest speed breaker in medical management. All drugs cause some degree of side effects, hence they give a negative feedback and adherence problems arise. The surface of the eye is compromised due to the drug as well as the preservative, and that works badly for the patient's vision. Also, there are many studies which show us that prolonged drug therapy produces a situation where the surgery results are compromised and recurring cost is a problem. SLT has been recommended as primary therapy and it takes care of compliance, and there are less ocular side effects, and effects are known to last for 2 years and can be repeated, but there are practical limitations because the patients do not look upon this as a curative procedure and they want that you should have a laser procedure, then it should be curative. And they are upset that the observation of IOP and disc and fields is done just as often. In real life, patients don't accept the SLT when it's offered in the early stages and like to use it surgery. Surgery is not commonly used as the first line, but it has got advantages to offer stable IOP without medications, lower fluctuations, and more stable fields, and freedom from red eye and OSD. but it is not offered commonly because of the potential sight-threatening complications and it not being reversible. And many studies have shown that outcomes in early glaucoma are similar between medical and surgical. In the conclusion, you have to see that primary surgery may be useful in economic constraints, geographic constraints, and when you have a very advanced disease, you don't have time to try the tolerance and adherence issues, you may go for early surgery. So besides that, you have to have one strategy. I will leave it to the next speaker, Dr. Harsh Kumar, to talk to us about how the observation itself is a modality of management, and also patients on treatment also need to be observed similarly.